My name is Christina. It is June 14th, 25 years after Y2K. The working title of the play that I'm writing is called Proof Enough, and that's going to stick. I have to have a title I like before I start writing. Proof Enough is my tribute to grassroots trans advocates and authors in the 1970s who were creating magazines like Transvesta and TV Tapestry and Gender Review. These were incredibly important ways of creating community before the internet. And Proof Enough, my play, asks what would happen if the publisher of one of these grassroots newsletters took over and gained control of a national newspaper that was on racks from coast to coast. Imagine a newspaper publisher's office, all the mid-century modern furniture made from newsprint and water flooding in everywhere. Great flood. The New Herald's newest publisher, she's no nonsense, all trans sense. It was really inspired by our current moment and how we talk about transness when we talk about transness in public spaces, the continued cis-led fixation and regulation of trans lives and ways of knowing, medical affirmation, and being in the world. It's my attempts to reckon with how language that is trans exclusionary is often attached to assumptions around safety that privilege one identity, so far from intersectional, and would exclude me as a non-binary trans woman. I want to have conversations on stage that I don't see happening on Canadian stages about transness and trans womanhood. I love to make zines right now. So I take these PDFs, we have PDFs of these grassroots magazines from the 1970s that were advocating for trans communities, and I collage with them, and I make found poetry with them, and I take parts of the first draft of the script that I'm writing and I intersperse it with those collages to create a little zine for myself. I'm pretty sure my current obsession with these magazines and newsletters from the 1970s is going to stick around. I can't get enough of them. I'm downloading them all the time. I'm reading through them. It feels like messages in the bottle from 50 years ago. It's amazing. Currently, Proof Enough is in the first draft stage. I'm making my way through the very, very first birthing of this script. And in the next year, I hope to make my way through the first 3 drafts. Some of the questions that keep inspiring me to write and to create new work as a playwright, and specifically to want to bring Proof Enough into our universe, is this question of how I can bring a lot of trans actors onto stage at the same time. So this is a trans epic. It's going to have the most characters that I've ever written, 8 or 9, and its mid-century modern setting in the 1970s is going to reclaim a piece of trans history that sits apart from the dominant historical narrative. That's another question that I really find myself up at night thinking about. How can we reclaim trans history? And finally, I think a question that I'm really compelled to examine is how can the art that I create invite trans community members into traditional theater spaces they may not have always felt welcome in because they don't see themselves on stage. And in addition to that, how can I engage the audiences who do regularly access traditional theater spaces in more nuanced conversations around transness, thinking about things like trans grief, trans joy, trans ways of being in the world? Those are the questions that roll around in my head late at night. I describe my process as a writer as pretty poly and very ethically non-monogamous in terms of I use my notes app and my phone. I have tons of notebooks, tons of Word docs. I really don't privilege any one kind of way of writing. And I'm also not particularly interested in counting pages per day or per week. I'm more interested in falling in love with the play that I'm writing and the characters that I'm creating and have them fall in love with me. And I think that allows for the kind of organic creation process that I'm really interested in exploring. My biggest challenge with my project is I need to know more trans actors. I need a network of national trans theater artists and performers and designers. So if you're a trans actor and you are hearing this, get in touch, baby. A song that I hear when I think about my play Proof Enough is Jackie Shane's Any Other Way, particularly the chorus and those trumpets that come just after she sings Any Other Way. I feel very inspired in my writing by these trans activists that I look at as some of my ancestors, these folks who were doing the work in the 60s and 70s to allow me to be who I am today. And I also feel inspired and so much gratitude for the archivists that have created the records of these grassroots periodicals and digitized them so they're accessible to everyone on the internet. And I feel a lot of inspiration for the colleagues that I've met here at PTC. And that's bringing me a lot of joy to feel like the associates program is such a safe, creative space. I think throughout my writing career, I've struggled to find spaces where I can tell trans and queer stories in a way that won't try to manipulate those stories into ones that are more legible from a straight and cis perspective. And so one of the things that I've realized through my short time at the very beginning of the associates program, my short time so far, these first couple of months, is the joy and feeling of freedom that comes when you have collaborators that are open to creating all of these diverse perspectives and equity on Canadian stages. I think one of the biggest hopes that I have for people to take away from a piece like Proof Enough is the sense of the multitude of histories that we have across our different communities, and how throughout our lifetime, I hope we continue to reevaluate and re-examine and re-embrace different perspectives for where we've all come from and whose shoulders we're standing on. My big goal that I'm going to achieve with Proof Enough by this time next year is I will have 3 drafts of the script done, and also I will have a network. I will know more trans theater artists across this country than I do right now. I think what is lingering on the other side of the door for me, hopefully, is feeling like I can sit in the opening night of the audience of Proof Enough in, we're going to say 4 to 5 years, once the associates program is wrapped up and we got it on stage somewhere, and be surrounded by the collaborators that I've worked with throughout the process. That's my other side of the door vision. A message for my future self: I love you. Drink lots of water. You could probably use more greens and protein, so try to have a smoothie or 2 each morning. And you're doing great. Just keep going.